What's going on? Man, let me tell you a real story real quick. One night I was down in a bar in Florida, and I was a little crunked up, and I was chatty, you know what I'm talking about? So I was talking to this dude, and we were like playing pool or something, and we got to talking about Kung Fu, and then this dude got this real serious look on his face, and he even did this kind of familiar where he like put one hand on his chin, and he put his other arm like kind of across his chest, almost kind of pointing towards his other under his armpit, and he looks at me and he's like, "What's your favorite weapon?" And at the time, I was like, "My knife, my nunchucks." And he was like, "My favorite weapon is my mind." Then he walked away. And that was some real shizzle. I used to have a little flip notebook in my pocket, and when someone would say something clever down there, I'd freaking write that shit down. You know what I mean? Forgot about that. I used to chronicle and journal a lot in those little scribbles, but I remember that, and it's so freaking true. It's like, it's not so much your mind as it is the mindsets that you can like learn and apply and overlay with yourself, with your personal core character. You know what I mean? Look at him. And if it suits you well and it makes you freaking a more enriched individual, then there's the freaking benefit of being that type. So it's kind of like you got to see part of that the ninja philosophy is more like you could modernize it and say be like MacGyver, that guy on the show who could just like make stuff out of anything. And by being that resourceful and resilient and exercising ingenuity, like in ever more like brilliant like combinations, man, is a beautiful thing. And it makes everything you look at it again as if you don't know everything that there is to know. And that in itself is a mindset that makes you look at stuff that you thought you knew again with new eyes. And there's deeper information there to be gathered and gleaned. Then it's just right out there. But it's like, because like these trees and these rocks are kind of silent, or they speak in a language that's not like ours, man, but they do convey information. They definitely talk to one another through pollen, basically, the chemically. Just like these cats, they can see the rat piss in the grass and follow that and smell it from across the way. So there's information being conveyed, chemical information, freaking everywhere as well. So look, knowing these things, these mindsets, being able to ponder intensely and diverse ways, man, and about things like the whole nature of things. The material is ultimately an invisible spiritual frequency vibrational realm, like molecules and particles is all frequencies, sine waves, wave and particle, dude. I mean, this stuff is crazy, but in our very matrix reality, it echoes the same vibration and frequency freaking everywhere. So you can tap into it wherever it's at in all of its diverse manifestations that we call this reality, like anything you can touch, see, taste, with the five senses. But there's the components that's beyond those five senses, and that's the supernatural and the spiritual realm. And these things are all manifestations of that place. And it's like the spiritual realm is not a manifestation of this place. This is the manifestation of that place. And because of these, our limitations of our mindset, in the dumbing down process, that society has underwent, this understanding has been, almost like intentionally done away with. Look at that heart yogurt flake. I like it. But through the, little practices, a little wax on, wax off, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, you can kind of, it makes you better at breaking things down and like seeing the usefulness in everything. Because truly, there's many ways you can process stuff and make useful tool and resource, like really, like literally, freaking grass, man. If you just let it grow, man, there's a lot of stuff you can do with that. Freaking, and that's just another reflection example, freaking, of the same vibrational, freaking, frequency, particle, molecule universe that we live in. But your mind is where you plug in the mindset. So the mindset is like extra, but the mind itself too must be pushed to operate in a higher functioning. And when you plug the mindset in, like, look, it has enough processing capacity to push that mindset, that program. So in your life, you might have to make some hardcore changes to modify your brain program, just how your brain communicates with itself. Look, left foot, right foot. You know what I'm saying? Right hand to the left knee and left hand to the right knee. Doing those practices really reorganizes your left and right brain, your mind. And through that process, it increases the functioning of the mind. Like, look, just however you stimulate the mind, it's going to respond. So the better you stimulate it, the better your operation is going to be. But sometimes you got to plug in a different stimuli to get that fricker to fire up again, and then reorganize and restructureize. And then even some of those older blocked up and lost records in your subcon programming and your freaking just in your head will resurface again to be processed. And then you can ignore it and bury it deeper, but that's what's bogging down the memory of our consciousness, which, our awareness and our growth. And we're meant to adapt to this thing and become wiser in time and through experience. That's why patience is the virtuous thing that it is. But it's the only way, unfortunately, to get it is to go through something horrible, and you have no choice but to use every bit of frickin' patience that you possibly have. And I was bitten through so many of these tests, and then you get hit with this one, and it's just like kaboom, mind blown all over again. And it's humbling that it's a process, man, and it never is really over. It just continues on. So, and hey, even if you don't have them, you're going to have to learn that lesson at some point or another, so you can't put it off. So it's good to know that, you got that notch on your belt. You know what I'm saying? And you could just keep it moving from there. You know what I'm saying? Just keep it moving. Keep pushing. Till the next struggle. And it's easy to forget sometimes too, like all the stuff that you already did when something like this is going on. So it makes you feel like overwhelmed or like freaking, man, I'm drowning in all this, man. And but it's just like swimming and not drowning. Sometimes you just gotta just keep kicking your feet and waving your hands and just kind of look and just get comfortable for a second, and then you'll stop panicking, and and then you can, get to safety. So, but like this one is so like hits you so freaking hard that it's real easy to freaking start panicking and flailing about. But that mindset of the patience in the midst of the chaos is only can also be learned through a horrible experience. And it's weird, man. It sucks. A lot of things really sucked, but I'm still grateful, and kind of, even if it was traumatic and damaging and freaking soul like attacking, but I'm still thankful that I had that experience, and to know that and ultimately I'll be a wiser and more like experienced person. And that seeing the usefulness in everything, being able to in a way, yeah, man, freaking transform that stuff, man, into something that you can personally benefit. So it's like that whole ninja mindset. Like, they think it's about killing people. It's not really. It's about using your mind to overpower yourself in a way, your own mind, because it's mind over matter, and if you don't mind, it don't matter. Kind of, you got to know when to use it, not to abuse it, type of a deal. But ultimately, man, it's a beneficial and enjoyable and an enriching and quite a philosophical and quite a spiritual thing as well, dude. All these things are entangled into these the practices, man, of operation in higher capacity, or striving for masteries. When you're really on a quest for something like that, it doesn't matter what happens to you, what price you freaking got to pay. You'll just keep working towards your goal. You know what I'm saying? Even you can do it independently in solitude, or you can do it, with Kung Fu brothers or whatever, or other, your relatives, people you can trust with the, you don't want to cast your pearls before the swine. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta, if people aren't given a chance to, if the fish doesn't get to nibble on the worm, man, it ain't gonna bite the hook. Not that it's gotta be a freaking getting fishing hooked is a bad thing, which it is. And I had to realize this too, man. Sometimes to pull the hook out, you can't pull it backwards. You gotta push it all the way fucking through the other side. And it's gonna be wretched and painful and horrible. But when it's all over, you're gonna feel a lot better. And that's kind of what it is too, like the mindset to face the stuff you normally would try to avoid, and to get it over with and keep moving. You know what I'm talking about? So I've learned all these things through freaking trial and error and experience over time, and it's makes life definitely more interesting when you pay attention in a more complex and deeper capacity.